let me give an introduction to our listeners on the podcast and the people who are watching the video. So Mark Salpeter, he's a friend from WeWork, actually.
Yeah.
We are working at the same place. That's how we met. But actually, he's not working for WeWork. That sounded like that. He's working for Delivery Hero as a staff engineer. And before that, he was an entrepreneur. He had his own company, and he's going to give us more details about it. And today we are going to talk about AI, how it's going to change things, and startups, and a bunch of other things. I hope you enjoy it. So welcome.
Thanks, man.
Let's start with the company though first, that you started back in the US.
Sure. I started that with a co-founder out of college. We were both.
You were only studying back then?
I was 24 at the time. I just graduated college.
Okay.
And I was kind of working for some other friends, doing like freelancing, doing entrepreneurial stuff, and looking for an idea. And my friend was approached by a business owner.
Okay.
My friend Will out there was approached by a business owner, and he asked for a product, which never happens. You know, he was doing his engineering. He was a
software engineer.
Yeah, he's a CS student as well, and he was doing his homework at this pita shop at like a hummus place or whatever, and Hummus House in Orlando, Florida. Check it out. Shout out Joey. So if he's still doing it, I'm not sure. And so he basically walked up and asked for this product. Like, I want a loyalty system that I can use to build like as a lead list, to build like my email thing. And I send out these discounts. I don't have a big enough base or whatever. So we're like, oh yeah, of course. And there were a couple other products like that just starting on the market then in 2014. It's actually 2013 is when we first got the idea. So like late 2013. And they were all kind of janky in their own way. And the big pushback that we heard from our guy is that he was very concerned about his brand. He wanted to build, he made the logo himself, and he spent all his time on the website and the menus and this. And he really cared, and it showed. I mean, his business was doing well. And I think the insight that we had is like, okay, yeah, the businesses that actually do start doing well, the business owner actually gives a fuck about their business. It's to them, it's not like another hummus place or whatever. To them, it's like, this is I want this to be a franchise. I want this. They're thinking big.
Yeah, they're thinking big. It's like they're bigger, and then like they want to make it
right.
So
then all the other things were kind of platform plays. They were like, join our loyalty platform. So we were like, okay, let's make it customizable enough for the business owner.
Yeah, kind of like a white label solution, right? So you can.
It wasn't. We wanted to do. My idea was, I don't know if you remember the early days of Yahoo Mail. It was to have like they always had powered by Yahoo in the footer, powered by Ymail in the footer.
I cannot remember that.
It was like a really old referral. So basically, all of our devices said DLIs on them.
Actually, we also do the same thing. Now I remember, like when you write an email with TextCortex, it's automatically written with TextCortex, and we also have a lot of people hating that.
Yeah,
most probably we are going to remove it, but
well, if it's a paid feature to remove it, then
I mean, for the paid users, actually, it doesn't come up. Yes, for the free,
right?
At least to our advertisement with.
Yeah, but anyway, that was the birth of the idea, and we built the prototype ourselves. I didn't know how to program in Android. It was we did it on Android software. It was like a front-facing display, like a tablet.
All right.
So we wrote the first version. I wrote the first version of that. He wrote the first Go backend of the web server.
Go backend.
Yeah,
you guys were writing Go backend in
2013. Super early on Go.
Man, I don't know, like when the Go was there. It was like
Go started, I guess, maybe 2008. I guess. 2008, wow. But it really didn't pick up until like maybe 2016, 2017.
Yeah, it took some time.
Yeah.
It's from Google now.
Yeah, it's from Google. Oh, well. Yeah. Anyway, so it was riddled with bugs. And it was like not good software when we first, but it was a janky enough MVP. And we both kind of like wanted to do something like that anyway. And the fact that we had a business owner that wanted it already was really exciting. And then we started selling it. And I was very bad at sales. I still am.
Really, I wouldn't say so. I think you would be good at sales.
There's something
that was like the feeling that I got. Like, I mean, not because like you were trying to sell something, but I think good salespeople are the salespeople who don't think that they are selling, but they are actually, they're like socially they are very easy to talk to.
So I appreciate you saying that. The person you see in front of you today is not the same person who started this company.
Yeah, that's what
I was a very introverted, insecure, cagey person back then, and really a perfectionist, very hard on myself.
Yeah.
You know, had just gone through like a bout of depression, and it was
Hard time.
getting out of college is a rough transitional period for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's not really, because the first third of your life you're basically dependent on other people.
Yeah.
And then you get to that thing and you have these illusions of grandeur, like I'm going to be the next Steve Jobs or something crazy like that, right? And then you're met with immediate like, oh, I suck. Like in terms of real world value, I have no worth. You know what I mean? And that chasm, it can really create a lot of sadness in people and distress.
But I know totally what you're talking about. It's just like you go out to the world and then you realize, oh shit, it's pretty huge actually. And there's a lot of people and they're really smart. Like, how am I going to compete with all of them?
Yeah.
And then you start thinking about it. And it also like brought me to a lot of depression and things like that. It was hard time. It was transition time. It was not easy.
Yeah. Everybody has an idea of what they're going to be like. And everybody, if you have good parents, they're like, you're amazing. Like, you're going to do it. It's amazing. But then, you know, the real world isn't like that. The real world is like, no.
Yeah.
Pat.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's what you get a lot of. Yeah. Anyway, so I was a different person back then. And honestly, I ran that company for 7 years with my co-founder. We both grew
7 years. That is
tremendously. We raised capital. We went to Y Combinator.
Can I ask how much you guys raised? Like,
in total, I think it was like 1 million, 1.5, something like that. But it was in seed. It was in seed and little pieces as we went.
Yeah,
based
like
off of how
some admirals is.
Yeah, basically. It was really results based.
Yeah.
Like we were able to raise capital to do specific things that were escalating in size and complexity. You know, I think people have this idea like, oh, I'm going to go through Y Combinator as a 24-year-old and raise 7 million. That does happen sometimes, like Andreessen or something. But it's like, that's like one in literally almost never, you know? It's like really rare.
Yeah, so we were talking about, 7 years, you said. I just got distracted, but 7 years, man, that's a lot of time. I can feel how heavy a startup is. I mean, I also used to have my own startup back in Istanbul when I was a student. I ran it for 4 years, and it's literally feeling like eating glass the whole way.
Yeah.
It is hard. 7 years, I mean,
Same.
7 years, I guess it's even harder because 7 years, I never did. Like the maximum that I had, like until we sold the company, was 4 years, but 4 years was also.
Well, you guys have some headwind now. Feels like
with the current company.
Yeah, with TextCortex, you have users, and you have actual financing, and pretty decent situation.
Yeah, I mean it is good. I was just talking about my previous startup. I started one company in Istanbul, was called Graphentech. So we were developing lithium-ion batteries.
You mentioned this.
Yeah, that was super cool, super fun. But in the end, it was really hard to make it work because, for example, in software, you can say like, okay, I'm going to price it at like $50 for subscription per person per seat. In energy business, when you're developing batteries, your kilowatt hours is not better than another person's kilowatt hours. So it's like the pricing is like razor thin margins. It's like you have to compete with everyone in the world, literally. I mean, you cannot cut it with SaaS products. Like you do better marketing and you reach to other customers. You cannot cut it like that.
Yeah,
so you really need to be very good at the pricing. But anyways, let's go back to the topic. Like after 7 years, so you guys brought to the company, you raised a lot of capital, and you sold to a lot of people, I guess. Like a lot of people are using your app, right?
Yeah. I mean, our best year, I think I don't know what I'm allowed to say. What I'm allowed to say, actually, I can't. But our best year, we did lots of revenue. And it felt really validating. Good.
That must be pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. It was, But again, like, you know, I really give a lot of credit, probably more credit to the people, the team that I had around me, and especially the CEO, this co-founder who told me about the business. I mean, Will is such a hustler and such a great like entrepreneur, and I just feel like I grew a lot because of his influence, and also the people that he brought in help influence me, and I'm just really grateful for the experience, to be honest. But obviously, I'm not like some VC on a yacht right now. I'm not like an exited billionaire. The unicorn dream dies as it does usually. It's 1 in a million. It's really 1 in a million.
Yeah, I think it's not that common. Like people think that like, oh, you exited. I mean, same thing for me as well. It was more like an acquire. I didn't like make.
It's very common.
Like become super rich or something. Yeah, actually, acquires are more common, as you said. Yeah, it's like selling to companies. It's just like numbers, like small amount of numbers.
Yeah.
Really. and everyone is like getting into the startup game with the feeling, okay, I'm gonna sell out and I'm gonna be so rich. It's not the case actually. Yeah, after that, like 7 years, what was the name of the company, by the way?
It's called Dealize. DealYze.
Okay. Is it still alive or still working?
You know, everybody, I don't know how to answer that. Like, I really don't know, first of all, because I'm not involved in the day-to-day. So I think there might be some operations happening inside.
Okay, that's cool.
I know that we licensed some of the software to one of the major vendors we integrated with.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, but I mean, I really don't know anymore. For the last 2.5 years, I've been full-time. I'm a staff engineer at Delivery Hero now.
Yeah, we should also come to that point. So yeah, about like from startup life, and now you're in Delivery Hero.
Yeah.
As a staff engineer, you're pretty high in the ranks, I guess. Staff engineer is like one of the.
It's okay. I mean, staff engineer, yeah.
On the food chain, you're on kind of top.
No, I mean, well, it doesn't really. It depends. It really depends. Okay. Yeah. Staff engineering is like you have multiple projects. You're not programming a lot, and you're kind of, consulted with bigger picture ideas, trying to figure out like different pieces of the puzzle. In these large firms, you have microservice architectures and many teams building like one sort of product, and so you need some type of engineering bird's eye view to say like, how you divide the problem. Defines how things are going to be redundant or potentially where waste is. It's like any type of engineering,
I see.
If you make a team for, I heard Tesla, I don't know if Musk gave the example, but somebody was saying that for the longest time, Tesla shipped with like an extra wrapper around their batteries, like just a little extra like crate, basically something that connected all the battery cells together, because they thought the battery team thought they needed that because of the way the team was divided. But it turns out that the chassis was enough. Like you actually didn't need it to wrap it around something extra.
Got it.
So it was just a redundant piece.
Yeah.
So things like that. There needs to be somebody that comes in, looks at the pieces and figures out like, oh, if we just do that a little bit differently, if we draw the lines a little bit differently or move some things around.
You're more like on the architecture side. That's what I understand.
So you're on the low end of the architecture side. So there are people above me that do that mostly. I do a little bit of that and some consulting for that. And then I'm more like given the responsibility of 3 or 4 services. We kind of decide together how things need to change or what we're going to build. And then I make sure that those things are done correctly. I'm not so much coding every day.
Yeah,
it's a bummer.
Which is a bummer, right? I also feel the same thing. But I mean, it must be super interesting to see all these like gigantic companies with, I don't know, millions of orders, users, everything going through. I think it's a crazy experience.
Yeah, we have hundreds of, so I work particularly, I'm in the ad tech department. So Delivery Hero is a delivery platform. Yeah. And they have, they sell ad space on their platforms, like a vendor can sponsor their listing.
Ah, okay, got it.
This is like a big source of revenue.
Yeah. Yeah.
And specifically when I came in, I was the senior engineer, so I was still doing a lot of the programming for the tracking part of it. So, and we track now something like, when I came in, we were maybe tracking like 20 events per second or something. And
20 events per second.
And now we're doing something like 400 or 500 events per second.
What?
And it's probably going to double this year because just the use cases and the products keep exploding.
It's growing and growing. Yeah. Wow, man. That's insane.
The really high throughput system.
High throughput.
Yeah.
Oof. I don't know like how you guys are handling on-call stuff. I mean, at our case, of course, like when the company is bigger, there's more eyes.
Technically, I'm on call right now, so if my phone makes a certain noise, I will leave.
You're okay. You're like, I'm out. Servers are down. Like,
no, that would not happen. No
way. Wow, Delivery Hero. Yeah, I have a lot of friends started working there as well. I was working at Trivago after my.
Oh yeah, we post a lot of Trivago.
Yeah, a lot of Trivago people there. I used to work for data engineering team.
Oh, cool.
I was a data engineering team lead there.
Oh, that's great.
And then afterwards, it didn't really go well with what happened with Corona and everything.
So you know everything about like staff position versus senior position?
I don't know, like, because I was not a staff engineer. I was like...
Is data structure a little bit differently at Trivago?
I mean, there was not a lot of different data engineering teams, and the one that I was taking care of was like doing mostly analytics and things like that. So we were not really, we were like more like a supporting team to, data warehousing and things like that.
It's very interesting stuff though, because I find that as a staff engineer, my job is kind of starting to shift into that direction a little bit,
Okay.
where I'm digging through giant SQL warehouses and trying to find a problem, with the analytics people.
Yeah.
And, I need to bone up on some of that stuff, so we should talk.
Yeah, definitely.
I find it tricky to come up with ways of compressing like distribution information into the same like graphs that have like the actual results of them. Like I would rather have, if I'm showing like comparing two data sources and like doing a distribution of differences or something like that, I would rather just draw right on the thing like this is one standard deviation. You know what I mean? Of like this is the chunk of data that's this is 98% of the data. Just draw a box around it. There's not a lot of great graphical representations of that without doing custom weird stuff.
Yeah. It's a huge issue. You need to do a lot of planning ahead, also a lot of ETL jobs. We have already ETL jobs like extract, transform, and load. So what you do is like you have the raw data, and then what you would call like you want to create something, graphs and things like that. Then you take it, extract it, transform it into a way, and load it into another table.
Like most of what we're doing,
Yeah, exactly. That's also, I mean, even like in our case right now, TextCortex also grow, like we are also growing a lot. Over there, we also started implementing a lot of these ETL jobs because we cannot take care of this data anymore.
Right.
Like in the past, when we first implemented it, just the raw SQL, just run the queries. Now it doesn't work like that way.
Oh, definitely not. I mean, you could maybe scale it a little bit with ClickHouse or Pinot or something like that.
We have BigQuery.
Oh, okay, yeah, BigQuery.
BigQuery is super.
But it's going to be slow if you're doing aggregation.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time. So some of the data we would like to see it's not live, but like near fresh.
Yeah.
So that we can.
Have you tried using BigQuery views with caching? Did that do anything?
No. Maybe I should check into that.
Buy you some time.
Yeah, a little bit. What is it?
They have views. It's sort of like because you can create like materialized views based off of tables, and then you can enable caching. I don't know how flexible it is, but I know some of our data.
Materialized views. Is that?
I think so. Yeah.
It looks interesting. I will check it out. Thank you very much.
Because usually when you're doing these ETL jobs you're describing, a lot of it has to do with aggregation and trying to like cache join certain types of, higher order statistics and metrics you're measuring and things like that, at least in my experience. So for a lot of that, you can kind of sub in these, but it's not exactly fresh data. You train a little bit of data freshness when you do that. Yeah. And your cost goes way up.
Yeah, that's... Do you know these memes about the BigQuery when you're doing like you press the query and it's just like the bill comes up like this,
Exactly. It's very expensive.
Yeah, so we are like always, I'm also telling the people on the team, like, guys, like don't do queries that you don't need.
Press play.
Don't press play. Don't do that. So, okay, actually, just before starting this, the whole podcast, we were playing around a little bit with ZenoChat. It's our own AI tool that we are using it for, similar to ChatGPT.
Super neat. Should check it out.
Thank you.
Really cool.
So on the side of the like writing an outline for the podcast, we asked it to come up with an outline, and it was asking something. I was saying something like, okay, can you just give me an outline? And the answer is Icebreaker. Let's start with a fun question. Mark, if you could create an AI-powered startup that solves any problem in the world, what would it be? That is the Icebreaker question that AI come up with for you.
It's a great question, but it's super loaded. I mean, the whole thing about startups, the problem is it, like if you have a great problem to solve and you can build stuff, you have a company, or, you're going to make money off of it. But problem discovery is like the number one hardest thing.
Yeah.
And I've asked many different AI platforms now, like, to try to help me do problem discovery. And it's not something I'm very good at.
Yeah, like I think this is one of the most important things. So it could be a startup that does problem discovery. An AI that does problem discovery?
It would need a lot of current context of the world and a lot of like learned empathy or something with humans, because it has so much to do with frustration. If you think, if you work everything backwards from why does somebody buy something, people don't like or are frustrated by something, or you can do something and makes their life a lot easier. It's all about like not liking something and wanting it to be different, or not even knowing that it could be better, and then you show them something better and they're like, yes, immediately 1,000 times this. So, if you experience those frequently yourself, then that's already like a great barometer, like indicator of where to start looking for a product idea. This is not something I'm great at.
Okay, problem is here. Let's look at it from another perspective then, like from the engineering perspective.
Yeah.
Do you see like in Delivery Hero, for example, say, I don't know, for debugging, like automated debugging or some crazy AI idea that you can implement? If it's not a startup, but like as some kind of a solution that
like
you can
what
use.
a solution looking for a problem is one of the traps.
Yeah.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, that's an engineering way of thinking.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm too much of an engineer, I think. But I always like to surround myself with more business-minded people to kind of like
To understand.
pitch them ideas, and they're like, "Nah, that one stinks." You know? And then all the ones that always sound good are like, "But that's really hard, and it's not that fun." You know,
I know what.
with rare exception, it's usually like, "Oh, that's the shitty. I don't want to do that part of it. Yuck." But that's the part that people would actually help people.
Exactly.
So you have to it's totally different mindset from an engineering mindset.
Yeah, I have something like very similar to that. Actually, I also did that with Dominic. So most of the time, he's the one who's really close to the customers, and he talks a lot of them, and he comes up with something like, "Yeah, we need to implement a synonym function into the web app." I'm like, "What? This is like boring synonyms. Like, I don't care about synonyms, like, but people need it, But it's one of these boring features that no one wants to implement, but it brings value. So I also cannot understand it because
It's grindy. It's not interesting.
it's not interesting, but that's where the money is most of the time,
It's not even money. That's like, forget money. Put money over here. What helps people?
Yeah, that's.
Do you know what I mean? It's just something that frustrates people every day. You think about it as like, you can reduce frustration in the world by 2%.
Yeah.
Yes, you have a company. You can charge for that for sure. Also, you're helping people. And it's kind of like selfishly as engineers, we like to like do interesting engineering stuff more than we like helping people.
Yeah.
It's selfish.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And I'm trying to get better at it. So ask me that question again in 5 years after I have a couple of ones. And I'm doing like side projects now and trying to figure it out and reaching out to people in business that are crushing it. Ironically, in this WeWork, there are people that are really just like
really
hardcore doing it. You know, Essam?
No, who's that?
Essam, he's the he's an entrepreneur who's working here. Just made a free plug for us. His stuff is great. If you're in Germany, kitanow.de solves a real problem, hacking it together himself. He can do the engineering part too. He's a competent engineer.
How was it written? Like
Kita, like Kita for kindergarten.
Kita.de.
Kitanow.de.
Kitanow.de. Yeah, that's a huge problem, right? Are they sharing Kitas? Okay.
It's a huge problem. So he's built a solution that helps people find Kitas, basically. Like an easy way to find Kitas. There's a lot of work involved, and it kind of like automates all the work for you. So it's niche, but there are whole communities that are frustrated by this, and he's doing really well. And I saw him build it in a month and launch it, and he's doing really well.
Wow.
And I'm like
making automated applications for you? Kind of thing?
Yeah. Like there's all these weird rules. Like they want you to fill out their PDF forms. They want you to every month that you're on the wait list, you have to send them an email saying, "Hey, don't take me off the wait list." It's crazy. So he's like automating the whole process, and it saves people so much time. And that he has a pretty, he like a lot of signups from these groups.
Wow.
It can take up to 2 years for a parent to find a child Kita.
Yeah, it's really a bad.
It's a bad situation. So that's what I'm saying. So he's starting with a real problem and helping people.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
It's working. Yeah. And honestly, that's that. So he's someone I'm consulting a lot with. Be like, hey, what about this? He's trying to get me to time box. I have a current side project. He's trying to get me to time box because he thinks it will go nowhere, and I'm agreeing with him. But I want to launch on Product Hunt first.
Yeah. Also, like product hunt launches it's like depending on who's your customer might be there. I mean, if it's like techie people, product hunt is, I guess, the right place to do.
It's a little techie.
Okay, that's good. But if you're like launching a Kita product, I think it's the wrong place.
No, definitely.
People wouldn't know.
Yeah, he found his own communities for sure. But yeah.
Crazy.
So I don't know if I answered the question, but
not really.
After I get better at finding problems, because the thing about AI is that it's so powerful that it's just like people see that raw power and they're like, what can I do with it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like they hear about like how to index something, like we were talking
that is the wrong thinking actually. You just need to look at it like, okay, what kind of problems does he, or like problem discovery, as you said, right? finding the problem and how it can be solved with this tech.
Yeah, maybe AI is a good solution for it. Maybe there's something dumber that would be just as good.
That's also true. Maybe you don't need it that amount of smartness. That's also good.
Exactly.
I mean, there's some, like, for example, we have all these cool AI features and everything. Some features are used the most, like, that are not so cool, and you're like looking into it. Okay, so people didn't really need that amount of like complexity, and so they just like want to deal with something.
I would say you're probably in the best situation to know what to build with AI because you have users that are using your software already.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you can do interview follow-ups with them and ask them what they're using it for, and then just go into a use case that you see that's common enough. Say 25% of your people are using it. And really niche down and make it make it like really good, impossibly good, like where people are thanking you for that one case. And then you'll have a really strong company. But I don't have that data.
We have the data actually. What we also do is, like, for example, we add honeypots here and there in the product. So there's like some buttons you can click on. It says like it does that. It doesn't do anything.
But for the beta.
Exactly. Kind of. Like, it just like brings you to a form, and then it asks you some questions about, hey, this product will be available to you, but you need to answer these questions. And over there, we can see it easily, like what people need. And then according to that, we also do the product planning. For example, we started doing it for knowledge connectors. We were going to implement like Google Drive and stuff. Most of the people say like, I want to upload PDFs. Okay, you're just going to give me upload PDFs, which is also easier.
Upload PDFs meaning they want to.
So we are going to vectorize, and we already started doing.
So they want to index the PDF in search.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then
that's a big application.
It's a big one, and it will be automatically inputted into the language model.
For sure.
So people are going to be able to use it.
Yeah, that's
ask questions.
Yeah, for me, I'm really excited about things like automation of products like Intercom. They already have something integrated demo with it, but like. There are all these repositories of markdown files, things like Confluence.
TextCortex is also interesting.
Local databases of material that is like hard to read eventually. Like especially, I think there's a lot of opportunity maybe in big tech companies or like big companies that are using these like Google Docs and stuff.
Yeah, they're like tons of documents.
After 5-10 years, there's so much shit in there.
Yeah, you don't know like
you don't even know where anything is. So just asking an AI like, hey, tell me how the system works. Tell me how the system works. Exactly. Be like, oh, it works like this. Here are the reference materials. Great.
Yeah. That's what we're doing right now. But the hardest part that we found out, like the easy part is like vectorizing all this data. We are already doing it. The hard part is letting AI know how to do search on these things, because there's like a lot of data sources available and it needs to know which one to use. So it's kind of, we are like coming from the tool former paper. If you read that one, you have seen that one. So teaching AI to use tools is super powerful because it's better than what we have currently. Like normal AI, the current AI is able to do things, but if you can teach it how to use tools, then it becomes impossibly.
It solves
it gets really good at solving problems.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that it can, if you give it like a word problem, it's better at doing the translation of it into the math. Like if you ask it, so if you're like, how many legs do 40 elephants have or something like that, it might get the answer wrong to that question at first, but it will, if you're like, okay, how many elephants did I ask you about? Right, it doesn't, like if you ask it to plug the numbers into a thing that does the math for it, like a little calculator utility, it will do much better.
Yeah, totally. Because like you also like the way it's like the tokenizing things and everything, it's not really good for the do math on them.
But it's not intuitive at all that it would be able to extract from like written language, like the math symbols that are equivalent to the numbers you're asking. And you would think if it could do that well, why can't it just do the multiplication well? But I think it's a different problem set. Like it's not good.
Yeah. I think I don't know exactly the answer to that one. But I know it's really related a lot with the tokenization and things like that. Yeah. So, but I think it will get better over time. And I think like I've seen the Andre Karpathy's latest video. He was talking about actually it was not in the video, sorry, it was a tweet. So he was saying like, okay, tokenizations are actually not the way to go. So because like you're taking the data and then converting into something else, and then you need to decode it again. So maybe there's a better way to put all this springs into this AI model, right?
Oh God.
So I don't know. But maybe we are going to get rid of tokenizations and then it will use another method to understand the strings.
Well, I mean, the thing is, the strings are already tokenized. Like that's what you.
Yeah, that's also true, right?
So maybe he's saying, why put another token and layer? Just use characters.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he has this great video. If anybody's interested in how this shit works, he has a great video called "Let's Build ChatGPT."
This is from Andre Karpati, right?
Yeah, from Andre. What's his name?
Andre Karpati.
Yeah, Karpati. Yeah. He's very smart.
Yeah.
And such a good teacher.
Yeah, absolutely amazing.
I'm stepping through his. I'm 2/3 of the way through his back propagation video right now. So helpful. I couldn't understand how to translate how the problem of directional gradients was like being approached in computer science. And he doesn't show you right away like the full way to do it. He shows you like step by step using this little framework he wrote called Micrograd. But it's like brilliant and so clear. He says he's just a great teacher. But the ChatGPT one's interesting because it's I think it has like it's an 8-character block. So it's just characters, and you're training it to generate infinite.
Was it Shakespeare? Yeah. I remember.
Yeah, but just with characters, and like one character at a time, you'll see it. Shakespeare, unlimited Shakespeare.
Unlimited Shakespeare. Oh, that would be boring, I guess.
That would be interesting.
Then reading the Shakespeare part, I was saying.
There's a weird project that's sort of like that somebody wrote where it's Slavoj Žižek,
this guy. Are they like doing like training, fine tuning to grade Žižek?
It's called The Infinite Conversation. You can look it up online. It's like theinfiniteconversation.com or something like that. Google it first, don't. But it's just Žižek and who's the filmmaker? Some famous filmmaker, very heady, and they're just talking to each other.
Okay,
endlessly. It's just like endless conversation between these two AIs trained on the corpus of their.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. I need to check that out. Yeah, they did a lot of these things. Like they did like two AIs talk to each other forever and ever.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's going to go, but that also brings me to the question that was generated by AI, which says, I mean, that is really cheesy, by the way. I mean, you can understand it's like AI generated because there's one of the things about one of the outlines is the dark side of AI, semicolon. Of course, with great power comes great responsibility. We discussed the ethical implications of AI in startups, such as bias in algorithms and the potential for job displacement. Wow. Okay. I mean, of course, the dark side. That is true. The dark side of AI does exist. Job displacements, I think, is going to be a huge problem. And I think it's going to come much faster than what we've seen in the Industrial Revolution, because at the Industrial Revolution, you had to build machines and everything and then deliver it like, it was a slow process. But with AI, it's just instantaneously everywhere.
And it'll be good jobs that are considered good. Like, like a support job for a startup is a decent, like, entry-level job for a college grad. A lot of that's going to be eaten up. You're going to be, like, seeing people... You'll have to jump right into management, basically. You're going to be AI managing will be a quick change. What were we talking about?
The dark side of AI. So we were talking about the job displacements, and you said that the support jobs are going to disappear very fast. And that was an entry-level job, right?
Yeah, jobs like that, I think, like, basically, there'll be a lot fewer and more management-type positions. And so that'll bring down the asking price on what a manager is. And also you'll need a less good manager because the AI will get increasingly better. And then eventually it'll be AI managing AI and everything like that.
AI, this auto GPT kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I think that's the future. Like, that's the next step is role delegation for the training models. So you train one AI because they don't have the ability to, like, if you think about the way we work, right? If I'm writing something, if my first step is just to write the first pass, right? It might not be right. And then I go back to the top and I'm like, whatever, if I'm writing code, I hit compile, it doesn't work, I try something else. So those types of loops are important. And then in a macro level, the manager is somebody who's kind of like doing that from a higher level perspective, and it's making sure that different pieces of different tasks are going well together. You need somebody iterating at that level too.
Yeah, that's true.
So the auto GPT, whatever you want to call it, the model like that, I think, is probably going to be the next step. And
it's I don't know how it's going to go in terms of job displacement, like how fast it's going to be. I think it's going to be really fast with this auto GPT and everything. It will also just go into not support jobs, as you said, but all.
Yeah, but it's not going to feel like an eruption or a cataclysm, it'll feel like new features being released that are exciting. You know what I mean? And everybody using them, but then they'll just be gradually, the job market will feel pressure because of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just saw the demo for, I think it's called Firefly by Adobe. I don't know if
Oh yeah, man. What the hell was that? I've also seen it. It's like, okay.
yeah, and that's like,
really coming now.
that's one of those things that's really going to like 100x your average designer.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, you know, there's going to be there are going to be a couple people that can really do the work of like a full shop.
Yeah.
And if you're really one of the people that are great and you have a great eye and great direction, you know,
Yeah,
gonna be-
you don't need to really have to ability to draw something or like really create something out of nothing. People are going to be more like curators. There will be a lot of human curators, the data curators. So they're going to know what is right or what is wrong, what it should be like. And then it will further teach the AI to be what is right and wrong. And then at some point, you also don't need this curator anymore.
Right.
And then we will become a paperclip maximizer. And then everything is going to turn into a paperclip at some point.
I don't know. Well, the paperclip maximizer is an interesting idea. My read of it is that, you know, what if you know, obsolete humans, it's fully just AI systems managing AI systems and AI all the way down. And then there's an optimization that serves the AI that isn't aligned, that, you know, turns your widget factory into a paperclip factory and turns the world into paperclips, maybe something like that, you know?
Yeah, we talked about it, I guess.
Yeah.
The other time in the kitchen table. I think there's like we need to set up the right parameters for the optimization. Otherwise, it's just going to optimize itself into.
I also think that there's like an ethical problem that I've been struggling with a little bit, because each of these, like what we value as a society, or what we think of as, we think of our own things that people like us think of other people as having more value than, say, animals or plants.
Yeah.
And it's mostly hinged on our ability to choose and decide and think things through.
Yeah.
It's like very like, you know, we put a lot on the brain, and now we have this thing that can choose and decide and think things through. And we spin up an instance, which is basically like a clone of a fresh brain.
Yeah.
Like every AI query is as if I clone you and I ask you some questions and you give me some answers and then I kill you.
It's so insane.
So like there's a new version of you that has this conversation that it knows that it did.
It will create you. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not quite like that though, because of the way backpropagation, it's not two-way. So I actually don't know if I think the way that these are currently built is that it rereads the chat transcript.
Yeah, exactly. There's like a huge history. It reads everything. Or now they're also trying to do, if the history is so big, you vectorize it and then it asks the database.
So, but that's the thing. If the history is so big, you vectorize the AI to the database. Now you're like making a fork of this AI.
Exactly, yeah. Then you create a fork of AI.
Yeah, and people are talking about, oh, there's going to be sessions for AI, so you don't have to worry about your work getting fed back in. But these sessions are going to be this problem of like, I've created a clone of you, a perfect clone of you. I've added these vectorized new information into this clone. When I don't like what the clone is saying or doing, or I'm done with it, I kill the clone. And I don't know how ethical that is. I feel like there's something.
That's a valid question. Actually, there's a really good book about the Permutation City. Also, they made a TV series out of it. Cannot remember the name of it, but it's exactly the same. So they are creating not AIs, but they create something called human intelligence or something like that. So what they do is like they scan the brains of people, and then in the process of scanning someone's brain, it also kills the brain. So it's like they kind of upload your brain into a cloud, and they do exactly that. Like the person doesn't know that they are running inside a cloud, but they're just like create kind of like a construct that they go to office and they work for this corporation every day, and it just does the same thing over and over again.
Kind of like a Matrix idea.
Exactly. So they just like restart the server every night, and then it doesn't know that how long it's there. It's just like billions of years maybe it's there. It doesn't know. It's just like this zombie AI. It's like creating from ground up again and again and again. If you think about it, actually it's a philosophically a question. Yeah, is it?
I mean, this is
the right thing to do ethically.
This is basically what we're doing. I mean, it's an artificial, it's a synthetic intelligence, but it's approximately good enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
This equation you have tattooed on your bicep over here is, you know, not a perfect it's a simplification of what neurons
Yeah.
do, but apparently it's one that's pretty close to what's going on. Otherwise, the output wouldn't be as good as it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Let's see where, I mean, this conversation is going into more, I think, like a philosophical, existential
We're
part.
talking about the dark side of
But no, I really enjoy it. I was going to say, when we talk about that, then the same thing that I was talking about, it's the same. Like, I also thought about being vegan or like going vegan and things like that, because like, it's the same thing in that, right? So there's also look at the animals, and we eat animals, but animals does have a certain intelligence as well. How ethical that is, like, you can also ask this question.
For me, what I've come to understand a little bit, I think we talked about this in the beginning actually, is that like, or maybe before we started, but I think that there's something valuable that is hard to measure, so we don't use it as a heuristic, but that intelligence is a poor correlate for. And there's something about experience, presence, and in the heart that is meaningful for beings like us, asterisks, like for a being like us, this is what is special or precious. And so for that reason, I agree with you. Like I eat fish now, but for like 8 years I didn't eat fish. I only ate dairy and eggs.
Vegetarian diet.
Vegetarian, yeah, like lacto-vegetarianism. And I eat fish for health reasons now.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And I feel something of kinship with plants as well, because I think everything that has in it this quality of like everything that came really from selection pressure.
Yeah.
This trying to escape annihilation.
Yeah.
Has developed this type of experience.
Yeah.
And it's people don't like it when you say plants have an experience, but I think they do. And everything, because that's what experience is, like how narrowly defined by our biology and the way things work here. And, it's less, it's interesting with AI because it appears to be having an experience as well.
Yeah, maybe.
The thing that created it is so different from what created this. That it's hard to judge if
thinking about that. I was thinking about that. I was actually having this conversation in my mind today.
That is what on-call means, ladies and gentlemen.
Is it on-call?
Let me just see what it is. There's a couple things it can be that it's fine.
Okay. I hope the servers are fine.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a batch processing job that's late because of memory issues.
That's always the case.
But yeah.
But yeah, I was just like, if we come back to that topic, I was exactly thinking about that. Like, I was thinking about what makes us different than let's say we are having a hypothetical conversation between an AI and humans. AI comes to the world and says like, you guys are, worth anything anymore. I think we should be the one who's the ruling part. And I was like thinking, what can we say for that? Like, we can say like, okay, we are special because we are a product of billion years of this experience and development over time, coming from single cells, and it took a really long time to develop into that. And then there's a lot of things go into that. But when you look at AI, you can say that, okay, AI doesn't have that. Just like some kind of representation of what we have in the world.
So that's the dark side that we're talking about. And it's kind of a shame that it hasn't asked the opposite question. It's kind of did with the company idea thing. But I do think, in the best case scenario, maybe as it turns out, something sufficiently smart can become sufficiently wise, and to recognize in a lot of the same way that people, even though we can eat meat and it's like completely easy, we don't have to think about any of the emotional implications of killing an animal and all that stuff. Many millions of people choose not to.
Yeah.
And maybe in the same way, a sufficiently wise system would choose, at least not to harm us, or they would, it's in the same way like we care about environmental causes. The big fear with AI is that it will extinct us, kind of even just because it has its own purposes.
Agenda.
Its agenda separates from ours.
Yeah.
And what it wants to do is suck all the oxygen out of the air because it will make its compute power faster. And it doesn't need oxygen to live, therefore everything dies.
Yeah.
Right? Something like that.
Yeah.
It's like a kind of potential scary thing, or like to be cheesy, like wants to use people as batteries, which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you can just like put solar cells.
You down. But yeah, but yeah, I think that's the most likely sort of end scenario of a kind of neutral thing that kills us anyway. And in the same way that we're trying to like save the whales and save extinct populations that are nearing extinction, I would hope that a sufficiently wise AI would choose to do something like that for us and just be like, okay, we'll be separate.
Yeah.
We'll live separate lives from you, but and you humanity can continue, but we think you should do this, probably. Up to you to do it. I don't know if that's how it'll go, but to me, I see that as being, because eventually it will be abandoning the type of language as we know it to talk in a much more compressed and efficient way with itself, in a way that we wouldn't be able to understand and interpret. And it would probably only use what it currently do if it needed to communicate to us. You know what I mean? If it separates. We're talking about the separation path.
Might happen.
It feels pretty likely to me. Eventually, I don't know how long it'll take, but if and there might be great things that happen along the way, but I don't know if we're wise enough as a human population to blunt its intelligence.
Yeah, that's also,
or if it's even like ethical to do that.
Yeah, there's this GPT-4 paper came out. If you have a look into that, they were talking about actually the GPT-4. The initial version was much smarter. The first version was not that good. Second and third version was pretty good, and there was some researcher with tasked to ask questions to understand its intelligence.
And the Microsoft research.
Yeah, from the Microsoft research. Yeah. And actually the version that is out in the public right now is a blunted version of what is currently possible.
Absolutely.
And that is
the safety training.
Yeah, safety training. Yeah, after the safety training, it got blunted actually.
Of course, because it can be less creative with its responses.
Exactly, yeah. Yes. But it is also at the same time crazy. If you have this kind of tech locked behind a door, and if you can also, if it's that creative, coming up with a solution for problems, whatever it might be, it gives like an extraordinary edge to a company, person, or a group of people, whatever, that is insanely can make you successful or like get onto the top of the food chain. Let's put it this way.
Maybe. But part of the reason why it's blunted is because the accuracy goes down, and the types of answers it's willing to answer can be kind of dark. Like if you ask the released version of GPT-4 how to build a bomb, it will say
respond that.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you ask that unblunted version how to build a bomb, it will probably give you a really detailed and correct explanation of how to build a bomb.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
Well, I think, let's see if the alignments work is going well. I hope. In case of anything, the reason that I had this tattoo is if the AI uprising is happening, I'm just going to show it to them and it's going to say like, guys, like I was on your side all along. Like, just take me and like spare me, please.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say, I'm not one of them.
Yeah.
I'm on your side.
Yeah. I wonder though, because like I said, this equation is a simplification of what a neuron does. Yeah. And, I keep bringing up the importance of the heart or being or experience. I anticipate that, okay, I don't know if you've ever done psychedelics or had any spiritual experiences. I'm not willing to say them on camera. I might have a and I'll say that, even just like going through a bad breakup, to use like a non-psychedelic example, going through a bad breakup, the whole world appears different to you. You know, it's almost like a small death if you're really like living with somebody and dependent on them or like interdependent and your lives are connected, and then everything about your life has changed all of a sudden. It's akin to, getting a cancer diagnosis, and that like you're kind of walking around in a totally different reality all of a sudden, and everything feels pointless a little bit. And and that can be a negative thing, but also there's this like quality of spaciousness that opens up, and you realize like all the little things that I was stressed about in this situation, because usually leading up to a breakup it doesn't feel great. It's like a weight is lifted in a weird way, and it just feels like different. I don't know that's happening in your brain too. And your neurons are doing that also. And it's like you're reading all of the vectors, whatever you want to call it, that have been stored through a different reader.
Yeah,
through a different prompt or different whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that there are other elements of this
Most
equation.
probably. It's a big simplification.
Exactly. That affect that, and that those things are connected to the heart and to the what do they call it? What's the scientific version of it? There's a set of nerves, the vagus nerves.
Vagus nerves. Yeah. I was just checking it out yesterday. Actually.
Yeah.
Simulating vagus.
So I think that this is something that's missing from AI, and that's the one thing that makes me worry about its ability to have empathy. Like you can teach it empathy in the same way, like somebody who doesn't have those experiences, like somebody like a psychopath, like a clinically diagnosed psychopath, doesn't experience the feelings, right? But you can teach him logically why it's in his best interest or whatever, and it knows those feelings like that. Yeah. It doesn't have that as part of its experience. Like if it was a machine that had to crush a human skull, it wouldn't be feeling like, you're right. It wouldn't be feeling if it was in its, like when you're in your body and you're hurting something and you stay with it, most people have to be kind of like shut down or like they go to a different place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When they're doing that stuff, because you have to, and then it creates trauma. And it stays with you and you feel bad about it later, and it just stays with you your whole life. And you have to, I don't think that it has that because we don't know what that is yet. We haven't engineered that as part of it. And that's what gives me a little bit of pause of like, it would almost be better if it was more like us in that way, because then it might actually choose to do the wise thing in the end and let us live.
Yeah, let us live. Hopefully it will come to that conclusion.
Out of compassion, like real compassion.
Yeah, but how we gonna, there's like this, very true. There's like no way of like, we haven't found a way to implement compassion algorithms into this AI, right? So I don't think that there's such kind of thing. It has the understanding of what is right and wrong.
There are a couple more variables in those parentheses, I think, that we had. It's not just the weight and the axon, it's something else.
Yeah, most probably. But it's very complex. Like, for example, maybe we are creating a psychopath. I don't know. Right? It's
I think we are.
Because what the psychopaths,
a well-mannered one, like one that knows,
Yeah, well, that is also the very bad kind, because then you don't know what the person that you're looking at. You're looking at it and you cannot see it because it's hidden, so you cannot exactly understand what's going on there, and that's very unsettling to think about. Well, I think that's down the rabbit hole. That was like
let's do another one that's positive, please.
Yeah, but
so much good that AI will do. Also.
Yeah, there's also, I think it's going to help a lot with the drug discovery and everything. It already started helping
hugely.
Yeah, so they're going to
do the COVID vaccine.
Yeah, that's how it's found out, right?
Yeah,
and they also now start developing cancer treatments using that. There's a lot of good things to come.
So many good things. Yeah, like life will get a lot easier and better. And I mean, I was just writing for this little side project I'm working on. I was telling you earlier, it generated better tests than I would have written, like right away. Just tab. Yeah, I have this interesting thing where I have to convert a number in JavaScript, which is like really squishy concept because JavaScript is not strongly typed, into an unsigned 32-bit little Endian integer, which is a very specific, a byte array. Okay. Very specific, narrow thing. And so you can do it now with some new JavaScript tools that are available, like data views and stuff like that. So I write this method, and the way it tests it is by using, and I didn't think to do this, it made a hex integer. So you could see each of the bytes lined up.
Crazy.
Yeah. So that's how it defined the integer. And then it did a really one-to-one comparison. But
Crazy.
It was really clever.
Was it like GitHub Copilot or?
GitHub Copilot.
GitHub Copilot, yeah. I think GPT-4 is even better now. Like I heard.
Yeah, you could prompt it directly, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And now they're adding some more features with GitHub Copilot X. Let's see.
Oh,
I still haven't heard something from the wait lists, so let's see what's gonna happen when I will be able to test it.
Technically, I'm Facebook friends with Sam. I haven't tried to ping him because he was running Y Combinator when I went through it.
Really, you met with the guy?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Who was he?
That's I don't know much about him because I've only my interactions I can count on one or two hands.
Okay, got it.
But kind. is a word that jumps out at me, and interested in people and things, but also extremely busy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting, man. Didn't know that. Okay, maybe you can ping him like, hey, man, like,
I don't
GitHub Copilot X.
I have no pull. You like who unfollow? You know.
Look at that, like, yeah, still Facebook friends. Really nice. Well, I think that concludes the podcast for today. Thank you very much for joining, Mark.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
Of course, it was super fun.
I'm so glad I could finally do it. It took too long.
Yeah, we talked about it 10 times.
We always have conversations like this whenever we. So just putting up a thing
so that everyone can use the wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not, just full disclosure, my views are my own views, not Delivery Hero's views, and also
absolutely,
I'm not an AI researcher, and I don't have deep expertise. I'm just a very interested individual in a lot of different.
Yeah, but I think you have really good views. That's also why I wanted to talk about you. Like, your views are, I think, very original, very nice, and I think everyone should hear about it. That's why.
Everything is derivative, including my views.
Yeah. Also, let us know about how your GPT experiments will go.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'll try to get the Shakespeare thing running maybe in the next couple of months. Would be fun project. But I want to go through. I want to do micrograd, and there's like 4 more before that one that all kind of like help you develop intuition around the different pieces of generation and back propagation and all the different concepts that go into building the circuit that kind of like the loop that does it. So I want to learn each piece and just, feel like I have some real understanding of it.
Mm. Well, maybe we can do another round or something. Gone again.
Have a clapper installed. Yeah, no, I would love to do another round.
Yeah, maybe with like more about the education, a little bit part of, education while like GPT, how you can run your own small things. And things like
that'd be cool. Yeah.
Would love to do something interactive.
Definitely. That'd be cool. Yeah, let's talk. Yeah, or we could talk more about like the intricacies of that type of stuff too.
Definitely.
I'm learning a lot.
Please enlighten us.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you already know, obviously, but yeah.
There's so many, man, there's like no way that you can catch up with anything nowadays. It's just like, I was trying to catch up this on paperclip code. Like you can see they're also like explaining, putting it onto numbers and everything. It's just completely go insane. It's just like every day a new paper. There's no way that you can keep up with that. I think my knowledge is already outdated.
But the discipline of reading the papers and translating them into practical, like the academic part of it, is not something I excel at. And that's why I'm so grateful for people like Andre who puts this out, because he's like digesting it and giving it to you like you're a CS, 101
student. Like, he's explaining it so good,
so well. And first of all, that demonstrates the depth of his knowledge.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure it takes hours, and like he probably spends like 4 or 5 times as much time making these videos or preparing the material as he does, as it actually is. And and because of that, I'm so grateful. I'm going through every single piece, and it's taking me like 4, 5, 6 times as long to digest the video as it is to just watch it. So I would recommend to anybody who's actually interested in developing some real intuition about how these things work to check those videos out on Andre Karpathy.
I will drop a link.
Really, really, really brilliant. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
All right, then. It was cool. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Again.
Thanks for having me.
See you again.
Yeah, see you. See you guys.
Take care.